Hi, my name is David Hong. 안녕하세요, 홍태환 목사입니다. Yeah, so I wanted to first talk about my family and myself. I'm married to Joanna Sujung Kim. We have 3 kids together, Abby, Joshua, and Grace, and we also have a toy poodle named Ellie. So as you can guess, it can get pretty crazy at home. I came to Canada in 1997. We actually landed in Kitchener-Waterloo in Ontario, and then we moved by car to Vancouver, and then we settled at Burnaby. For university, I went to the University of Waterloo to study computer science. Did a bunch of co-op terms. I think my last one was at Amazon.com, and I think that's when God called me to become a pastor. Since then, I've served at Cross Fellowship Church for about 13 years, and now we're planting a new church. I became a pastor back in 2010, and I started serving at Cross Fellowship Church as the youth pastor. Since then, I've also served as the children's pastor, praise leader, young adults pastor, associate pastor, and executive pastor while serving there. I think I saw myself as a jack of all trades, master of none kind of person. So I felt that I was kind of good at a lot of things, but not really super good at one thing. And while I was serving at church, I realized that I have all these different skills that I have, and I was able to put that in a cohesive way to share the gospel. And so I figured maybe this is a vocation that God was calling me into. And I think only in retrospect, only when looking back, do I realize that maybe it was God calling me into ministry to use all the gifts that I had to share the gospel. I think my favorite story in the Bible just right now is the story of raising of Lazarus. It's a very poignant story. It's very sentimental. It's very famous. But the reason I love it so much is because I think it shows Jesus so brilliantly. In the story, when everyone thought that it was too late, Jesus comes. In fact, we see that Jesus waits until it's too late to come. And then he comes and you see that he's personal. He weeps with those who are weeping. Right? He sees those who are stricken by grief and relates to them. But at the same time, it also shows that Jesus is powerful. How he can just speak and raise a dead person to life. Even someone that they thought is way too dead. Right? 4 days in a tomb meant that their souls were no longer there. Yet Jesus is able to bring Lazarus back from the dead. But the one part that really comes to me is that Jesus is punctual. What I mean is, even though it seemed too late, it was just a perfect time for Jesus to come. And I think that really helps me see who Jesus is. That he's not this God who is far off, but he is someone personal who understands us, and that nothing is too difficult or too late for him. And so whenever I return to this story, it fires up my heart for the gospel, and this is the Jesus that I want to share. So whenever I have the opportunity to share the gospel at a retreat or an event, I tend to come back to this story to share who Jesus is and what the gospel is. What do I do for fun? I'm a gamer. I like playing Nintendo. In fact, I basically grew up playing a whole bunch of Mario games, and even right now I play Mario games with my kids. Yeah, we have a lot of fun so I have 3 kids, as you know, so we have a Switch at home, we have 4 controllers, so it gets pretty crazy, pretty fun when we play like Mario Party together. Yeah, and I also really like playing board games with people. In fact, I have like a cupboard full of board games. People sometimes just call me just to borrow board games from me. It's just fun, playing those games together while chatting with friends, having a good time. But now that we have kids, it's kind of hard to do that. Well, you're probably gonna think that I'm a nerd, but I like gathering information. Whenever I'm on the internet just browsing on Instagram, Reddit, or reading a book, news, just like gathering information that could be useful somewhere down the line. So in Korean, you can say that I have a lot of 잡지식, but that's who I am. And when I'm not sitting down reading something or browsing the internet for information, I just like going out, walking around the neighborhood, checking out different stores, especially places that I haven't been to, see what it's like. And after checking it out, I like recommending it to people. Right now, I'm into checking out different curry restaurants and Mediterranean food restaurants. So if you know any good place, let me know. You might be wondering where the name Sunflower came from. It's actually several things that came together at once. So we homeschool our kids, or semi-homeschool our kids. We send them to something called Regent Christian Online Academy. So half the time they're homeschooled, half the time they kind of go in person to a class. They go to a church right now to have their classes, and it's actually called Sunrise Church, spelled Sonrise. So you can kind of see that as a play on word, and that kind of just stuck in my head a bit. I was like, oh, that's pretty cute. And then one day I was preparing a sermon while eating something, and that day I was eating sunflower seeds. So you can kind of see where this is going, and it just clicked, right? Sunflower with an O, right? S-O-N. Flower. I thought, you know what, that's a cute play on words too, but then it kind of made sense, because at that time what I was also looking into was how to prepare for my late father's memorial service. So he passed away back in 2005, so it was like the 18th anniversary. His last sermon was titled in Korean 주바라기. So it's also a Korean play on word where they took the word for sunflower and the Lord, right, put it together. So it's a flower that always looked towards the Son of God. So with all that kind of in my mind, I thought, this is a name that I would like to keep thinking of. And the more I thought about the word and how it connects to our faith, I realized there's a lot of connection between us as Christians and sunflower. For example, one thing about sunflower is that it's a heliotrope plant, meaning it doesn't follow the light, but it actually follows the sun itself. So even on a cloudy day, sunflower would follow the trajectory of the sun, even though it doesn't see the sun. But what was fascinating was that as it matures, the sunflower doesn't follow the sun anymore, but just looks towards the east and waits there. I found that there's a lot of similarity between different stages of Christian growth and a sunflower. There's always that growth stage, but there comes a time when we're constantly trying to follow the sun. And as we do that, others will see us and see where the sun is. And I think the more mature we become as Christians, we just start looking forward to the coming of Christ, and others will see us waiting as well. And those who struggle with faith will be able to see those who are more mature in their faith and see that one day Jesus will return, and that they can be encouraged from that. Yeah, so when I decided to plant a church, that's when I decided I wanted to call it Sunflower Church. My hope was that the church would always follow the Son of God. Not only that, sunflowers tends to stand out in the garden and receive the light and glow and shine that light, reflect that light towards others. And I wanted believers to be like that, to stand out in their communities and to shine Jesus' goodness to others. And lastly, when we think of sunflowers, when we see sunflowers, it just feels warm. Not only that, it represents loyalty and hope. And these are things that I want our church to have. I want it to be a warm church where people can come and feel the warmth of Christ through the fellowship with fellow believers. And yeah, that's how we got the name Sunflower Church. These days, I'm meeting and connecting with a lot of people. My friends who I've known for years, as well as friend of a friend whom I'm meeting for the first time. And what's awesome is to see how God is working through the lives of these people. My main mission right now is to find core group members who will help launch this church plant. I'm looking for people who also feel that they're being called by God to join this church plant. I'm convinced that just as God called me and my family into this church plant, God will also call those who should come and help as well. Other than that, I'm making a new Bible study right now geared towards non-believers. Test driving it right now with a couple of guys on like Wednesday evening. We go through the questions together. We're just going through the first couple of chapters right now. It's been really fun and edifying for both me and the guys. And hoping that this will be ready by the launching of the church so that we can use this to help non-believers come to Christ. Lastly, I'm planning on posting videos weekly from now on, going through the book of Acts in light of this church plant, and stay tuned for more. I'm hoping that in 5 years, our church would have a little more presence in the city of Surrey. We're planning to meet at Landmark Cinemas in Guildford, so it's easier for people to find the church and for others to invite their friends to the church. I just thought that it would be easy for them to come to church because it's a theater. They've been to a theater before. Not only that, it has reclining seats, so even though it's their first time at a church, they could feel relaxed and see what it's like to be in a Christian service and see other Christians worship God. I'm also hoping that there will be a deep fellowship within the church. I want to see small groups and discipleship groups flourish because I believe that is the lifeline of the church. And for the small groups to be a place where they can invite others into it so that they can feel this warm community and then be introduced to the church as well. One big thing that I really want to see happen in 5 years is for our church to be more involved in outreach, whether it be something as simple as giving donations or gifts to schools in the city, or us, the members of the church, actually going out to the community to serve the needy and bring Christ's goodness to their doorsteps. With the goal of bringing more people to Christ so that we may baptize them and make more multiplying disciples in the process. And by God's grace, I hope to plant or help plant more churches in the future as well. Dear friends, I would like to invite you to this God-given opportunity to help plant this new church. At one point in life, I also was at a point where I had to leave the church I had grown up in to serve at a new church plant. And although it was scary at first, I also got to see the blessing that God was pouring out into His new church. And that really helped me and my faith grow as well. So I would like to ask you to pray to God to see where He wants you to serve right now. It could be at a church that you're in right now, or it could be that He could be calling you out to a new adventure that He has ready for you. Follow the Son and see where He guides you. And I hope that I will get to meet you and to hear how God has led you to now. Thank you for watching.